Good afternoon. I am going to do something a little bit different today. I even have a little bit of notes, but mainly this is going to be just out of my heart to you guys out there. I'm so glad you could join me today. I hope that I can show you some things of importance. This is going to be, I guess I would say, in 3 parts. The first part is something you've probably heard about on many other channels, and that's survival tips for hard times. Whether it's an EMP attack or an earthquake or a hurricane or 3 days and nights of darkness, whatever it may be, this is going to be important. I'm going to try to make this brief, so let's just get into it. Now, I have in my possession, in my little apartment here, a few items. I have a pantry full of food, mostly food that you don't need to cook. If you need to soak some things, like if you need to soak cereal without cooking it, as in oatmeal or oat bran or rice bran or something, that's well and good. If you have access to propane heat, where you have a stove and a propane stove, that's even better. I suppose wood heat will be out of the question. I'm quite sure that the authorities won't let us make a bonfire. So don't count on wood. Count on propane or something else. Or count on just using food that's, not perishable. Water is very important. I have a Life Straw. I believe that's what they're called. I think they're about $15. You can get them on Amazon, and they're supposed to be good enough to use even in a muddy puddle of water. They were actually developed for the people of Africa, and the missionaries would take them life straws, and they became very popular in the States. So I would suggest, if you have a family of 4, to buy at least 3. 1 for each would be even better. Then, of course, is storing water, and when we store water, we really should add a few drops of Purex or Clorox, depending on how you call that word, the disinfectant. And do check online. I'm sorry I didn't get the amount for you here, but you can check online how many drops to use per gallon of water. That's an excellent purifier. Some people use iodine, but I'm just not a real big fan of iodine in drinking water. However, try to find iodine for your medical kit, because for cuts and scratches and deep cuts, nothing's better than iodine. And I've noticed that iodine is being pulled from a lot of the drugstores, a lot of the pharmacies, and a lot of the grocery stores. So if you can find that little bottle of iodine, get at least 4 of them and put them in your kit with your medical supplies, because it's a great germ killer. Far better than the triple antibiotic ointment. That stuff is okay, but only if your injury isn't, life-threatening, I guess I would say, but iodine's the best. Okay. Speaking of your medical kit, this is very important. Please listen. For those of you that are on prescription drugs that are the type that you need to taper down with, so that you don't have withdrawal, or so that the body doesn't go into adrenal shock, be sure that you have some in your medical supply in your emergency kit, at least enough to taper down on, so you don't go in. So, because if you're on opiates, you could go into horrible withdrawal. If you're on prednisone, you could go into adrenal shock, because once you're on prednisone, the body stops producing the adrenal glands stop working properly, and then if you just stop cold turkey, then the adrenal glands go into shock, and you could be really, really in trouble. Diabetic medication, high blood pressure medication, anything that you've been on for a long period of time, please stock up enough so that you can taper down on. And yes, I realize that once you taper and you're out of your meds, you're going to be hurting and you're not going to be a very happy camper, but this is what this amounts to, is camping. We're going to be camping out. We may have our house and we may not, but we're going to be campers for maybe for indefinitely, who knows. Medical supplies, oh my goodness, what can I tell you? Yeah, anything to kill germs is very important. Gauze, adhesive tape, Band-Aids. Here's one for bleeding. Stock up on some sanitary napkins. I know that sounds weird, but those big old thick sanitary napkins that will sop up the blood, say if you're bleeding somewhere, a lot better than a couple of Band-Aids. So don't be ashamed to have some Kotex or whatever in your kit. You may need it. Anything that you can think of that would help you medically speaking. I'm just not going to go through the whole list, but I'm sure you can think of the things that your particular family might need. Okay, the next thing would be toilet paper. That's kind of a necessity because we don't live in a time when we have a lot of newspaper, and who wants to use newspaper? It's very rough, so yeah, stock up on toilet paper. Paper towels, that's a good one too. And I would suggest get the soft paper towels like Viva, that's a great one. They're almost like toilet paper, they're so soft. You can't flush them, but hey, we're probably not going to have a toilet anyway, so really who cares? Black garbage bags, those heavy, I'm not talking grocery bags, the little flimsy grocery bags. I'm talking the big, heavyweight, gray or black, or maybe they're another color, garbage bags. Now that's going to be for human waste. You know, if you live in the city like I do, I'm up here on the hill in town, we're not going to be able to do like the Israelites did. God said to the Israelites, when that cometh forth from you out in the woods, take a stick and cover it with the earth. Paraphrasing. Okay, you know what I mean. In other words, go potty out in the sand like the Israelites did. Take a paddle, I think he used the word paddle. And take the paddle and cover it, you know, after you go. Well, we're not going to be able to do that. We're not going to have probably toilets. We're not going to have porta potties. We're not going to have honey buckets. So how are we going to take care of our bathroom needs? Really the only thing we can do that I felt is halfway practical are those big garbage bags. And I think you could urinate on the ground. I think that would be permissible. But for the other problem with the BM, you better have it bundled up because that can cause disease. It breeds bacteria because it is bacteria. And we want to protect that, tie it off. And it's going to be bad. I think that the human waste problem in a long-lasting disaster scenario like an earthquake or whatever, that's going to be the hardest thing, probably harder even than food. So anything that you can think of along that line, think about it now and stock up on whatever you need. Okay, under my sofa that I'm sitting on, and unfortunately it's about my only background for these YouTubes. Thank you for bearing with my same boring background. Appreciate it. But under this sofa, I have tarps and I have ropes. I really didn't, I don't have a whole lot of money on Social Security, and I didn't really feel I had room for a tent. I probably should have bought a tent. I still might buy a tent. But meanwhile, under the sofa here, I have about 3 tarps of various sizes. I think one is about 6 by 10 and the other's 20 by 14. And then I have ropes, several ropes, so that, say if in an earthquake my house went down, I could go out there and I could find some trees or some bushes. I've got enough out front, I could actually make at least a shelter enough so that because we live in rainy country here, I'm in the Pacific Northwest. When the rain pounds down, we could at least have some shelter from the rain. It might be cold, but at least we wouldn't get hammered on from on top, and we might be able to, drop it down and make a somewhat of a semi-tent. So anything you can do to think of shelter, if your house goes down, that's awesome. Back to water. Do not drink any standing water or any water that you're not 100% sure of is safe, as in a mud puddle or a puddle of, if it just rained and you're catching water in a pan, that's going to be fine. I mean standing water that's been out there for a few days, because you have the problem of parasites and all kinds of bacteria. So if you have a life straw, that's fine. That's why, again, I go back, get some life straws. But without the life straw, don't do that unless it's fresh rainwater. Then it's okay. Okay, now, what are we going to do for lighting? Candles are great, and if this thing happens that we do have 3 days and nights of darkness that I'm not real sure of, maybe we will. Probably will. From what I can see in the Bible, this is generally the only book I talk to you guys out of. But candles are a necessity. Kerosene lanterns, I have 3 or 4 of them, and I have kerosene. Kerosene is a little iffy. You have to be really careful that you don't, chip them over. That could start a fire. So could a candle. And I would recommend with candles to put them in a, what do you call it? Like a little glass fireproof container where it's semi-enclosed, and then the light and flame comes, on the top. So yeah, protect your fire. I will use kerosene if the lights go out, but I'm kind of used to it because I'm an old pioneer lady. But flashlights, I have the old-fashioned flashlights with the bulb. I do have some, what's it called? The new kind, oh my goodness. What am I thinking of? Well, you know what I mean. The kind of flashlight, you just turn it on. It doesn't need a bulb, and it shines really, really bright. I do have some of those, but I also have some of the old-fashioned flashlights. And the reason for that, I heard, and I haven't confirmed this, that if we have an EMP attack, that the modern flashlights and lanterns won't work. Then I also heard a contradiction on that applies only if the EMP strikes, up there in the atmosphere, and we have these lights on at the time, it will disengage the lights and they won't work anymore. Not real sure about that one, but I have both types of lights in case my power goes down. Okay, animal food. If you have any animals, in fact, even if you don't have any animals, if you're an animal lover, it might not be a bad idea to have a few bags of El Cheapo cat and dog food on hand. That's just my humble opinion, because I love animals, and I hate to see them. I hate to see an animal hungry and sick and starving. So personally, I will. You don't have to, it's just a thought. I think that's about all. I was going to do this video in 3 parts. It's not going to happen. Notice a couple more things. Get some spray Lysol. Psst, the spray type, okay? Because that's really good for killing germs, the flu germs, cold germs, other germs. Spray Lysol. And also some wipes, the containers of you pull it out and they're already saturated with Lysol or similar disinfectant, so you can keep your hands clean, because hands spread disease quicker than anything, because this is how hands spread disease. Watch me. I touch something, or I touch somebody that's sick, or a doorknob with a virus on it, and then I go like this. Or wipe my eye. I've just put the virus on my mouth, nose, and eye. That easy to do. 3 days later, I'm going to be sick for a month. Lysol is vital. Purex is vital. All of these little scribbly things here are vital. If you haven't started your emergency kit, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I would highly suggest you start today. Money-wise, well, what price can you pay on survival? Huh? What price you going to pay on getting your kids and your loved ones through hard times? Because hard times are coming to America. We're not joking. Those of us who are on survival sites, I'm not the expert, but the experts on the survival sites, we're serious. Hard times are coming to America. So get ready now, because when the earthquake comes, or the hurricane, or the EMP, or even a nuclear attack, God forbid, that'd be the worst. But when it comes, you're not going to be running down to the grocery store and the drugstore and saying, hey, I need some stuff. I need to stock up now. They'll shoot you anyway. So you better just, if you're walking on the street, when a catastrophe has happened in your town, and people see you walking down the street with some of these survival items, they're going to hit you in the head and take them from you. So again, I would suggest you have them safely in your home. If you can't put them under lock and key, that's okay. We trust the Lord to protect us. We do our best, and God will do the rest. That's what I always tell my 4 adult kids. We do our best, Almighty God will do the rest. Thank you for watching me. I'm going to come back today, and I'm going to do another one on loyalty and persecution. Yes, I invite you to watch. I hope the Holy Spirit will help me with those, because the subject that I'm going to try to bring later today is going to be a heavy one, but a necessary one. God bless. Thanks for watching. I'll be back later. See you soon. Bye-bye.